Hello everyone, welcome back. Hope you are doing well. According to our plan, within 20 days we have completed the entire portion. Not only that, we have solved many previous year questions too. Now it's time to put our knowledge to the test. Today is 30th March and we assigned this day to solve sample question paper which is issued by CBSE. Then what are we waiting for? Let's get started without further delay. Alright, here is the sample question paper. Let's start solving questions from the section A. Here is the first question. We have got question in the form of true or false. In Python program, break statement is given in a nested loop. It terminates the execution of all loops in one go. We know break statement terminates the immediate loop. It doesn't terminate all the loops. That's why this statement is false. Moving ahead to the second question. We could find one question which is for 1 mark. Let's read it. In the table in MySQL, the attribute A of data type varchar20 has value Keshav. The attribute B of data type char20 has value Minakshi. How many characters are occupied by attribute A and attribute B? According to the question, the attribute A is having varchar data type with size 20 and B is having data type char and the size is same. We know varchar means variable length string. It takes as many bytes as the length of the string. The length of the string is 6. So attribute A will occupy 6. Whereas in case of var20 it's a fixed length. The size is 20 means the characters occupied by it will be 20. Look at the options. The correct option will be B, 6 and 20. Let's proceed to the question number 3, in which we need to find out the output of the following expression. Look at the expression. All the operators are arithmetic operator. Arithmetic operators are categorized into 3 levels. The first is exponentiation operator. It has the highest precedence. Followed by that division, multiplication, modulus and floor division operators get calculated. And at last, the third category of operators are plus and minus, which will get calculated after these operators. And what about the associativity? These two categories of operator follows left to right and exponentiation operators follows right to left associativity. Now let's solve this expression. There are two exponentiation operators which will get calculated from right to left. So 2 to the power 3 will get calculated and we will be getting 8. So the expression will look like this. 3 minus 2 exponentiation operator 8 plus 99 divided by 11. There is one more exponentiation operator that will get evaluated. 2 to the power 8 will be 256. So 3 minus 256 plus 99 divided by 11. After exponentiation operator, division operator will get calculated. So we will be getting 3 minus 256 plus 99 by 11 will be 9.0. We got 9.0 because division operators gives result in the form of float. In this expression, we have two arithmetic operators minus and plus which will follow the associativity from left to right. So 3 minus 256 will get calculated and we will get minus 253 plus 9.0. Finally, the answer will be minus 244.0. The final answer we could see is present in the option C. So here is the correct choice. Hope you understood this explanation. Here is question number 4. Look at the question. There is one string and we are applying split function on the string. By default, split function splits the string based on space. That's why after applying split function on the string, we will be getting one list named L with these elements. These are the strings. In the next statement, we could see that we are applying some functions on the elements of the list which are string. With the upper function, the string got converted to uppercase. So the output will be uppercase Python word. Followed by that, we are taking the element L of 1. L of 1 is the word is. So as it is, we will be getting it. After that, we are applying capitalize method which converts the first alphabet of the string to uppercase. So lowercase fun will get converted to the string like this. With the join function, we are joining this string with the dash. That's why the dash will come in between these words. So when we will print it, the output will look like this. Let's discuss the question number 5. In a table, alpha has degree 5 and cardinality 3. There is one more table beta with degree 3 and cardinality 5. What will be the degree and the cardinality of the Cartesian product of alpha and beta? Okay, let's solve this example. You know cardinality means rows and degree are the columns. So according to the instruction, alpha has 3 rows and 5 columns, whereas beta has 5 rows and 3 columns. When we talk about column, it will get added 5 plus 3. So the total number of columns are 8. Columns are nothing but degree. We got degrees, that is 8. Now let's calculate rows. In case of Cartesian product, first record will get matched with all the records of the second table. It means for the first record, you got total 5 rows. In the same way, for the second record 5 rows. Similarly, for the third record, we will get 5 rows. Total rows will be 15. Rows are nothing but cardinality. First we need to write degree. Degree is 8 and then we will be writing cardinality. Cardinality is equals to 15. So the correct option is B. What's the sixth question? Riya wants to transfer picture from mobile phone to her laptop through Bluetooth technology. We need to tell which type of network will be formed. Out of the given option, the correct option is PAN, Personal Area Network. LAN is used within a building, WAN is through countries or continent, and MAN is used within city. Moving ahead to the next question, question number 7. We need to tell which of the following will delete key value pair for the key equals to read from the dictionary name D1. There is no method and function related to dictionary like this. So ultimately the option B is the correct option. Del statement will delete the key value pair with the specified key. What question number 8 says? This question is based on string slicing. Look at the slicing part. This is the starting index, this is ending index, and step is also mentioned here. Ending index and the step is exclusive. From the negative step, it is clear that we have to consider negative indexing. Starting index, it is -2. So we will be starting with the letter C. Look at the end index. It is mentioned as 2. 2 is equivalent to -13. Ending index is exclusive. So we will be considering it till -12. Here step is -2. And step is also exclusive. It means step is -1. What does it mean? We need to skip one character while slicing. So let's start slicing from the letter C. We will consider C, then skip N. Then we will consider E, skip D. After that we will consider I, skip S. Followed by that, let's consider E, skip R. After R we will consider P, skip space. The last character is 0 that we will consider. So after slicing, this is the final string. And this string is present in the option B. So the correct option is B. The question based on slicing is very important. Surely you will get one question. Let's check out question number 9. This is based on tuple. We need to tell which statements will give an error. Here is one tuple with some values. Look at the first statement. We are printing the tuple. It will not give any error. Now what about second statement? We can access the elements of the tuple using index, and while printing we are adding some value to it. So this is also perfectly fine. In the third statement we are applying max function on the tuple. It will give the maximum value among all the elements. This is also fine. Now look at the last statement, that is statement number 4. We are trying to update the value of the tuple at the index 4. But we cannot do this operation as tuple is immutable data type. When you will try to do this operation, you will be getting this type of error. That's why the correct option is statement 4. This statement will result into an error. Here is the 10th question, where you need to find out the possible outputs. Look at the code carefully and draw your dry run table. With the first statement, we imported random module because to use the functions from the random module, we need to import it. In the second statement, we are using randint function. Randint function generate integer random numbers in the specified range. The range is 0 to 3. So the values of my numbers will be 0, 1, 2, 3. Let's move ahead to the next statement. Here is a list with some name of the colors: yellow, white, black and red. Look at the for loop. For I in color. I is iterating over the list. So the possible values of I will be yellow, white, black and red. Moving ahead, there is a nested for loop. The inner loop is iterating using the counter variable j. Look at the values of j. In range 1 to my number. The starting value of the range function is fixed, that is 1. Then what about the second value, that is my number? Here are the possible values for my number: 0, 1, 2, 3. So you will be getting values like 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2 and 1, 3. But the inner for loop will execute only for these two values, because for other two values the loop cannot execute. In the first combination, the second value is smaller than the first value. And in the second combination also, range function will consider it as a 0. So this is also not possible. Let's check out the statement inside the nested for loop. We are printing the value of I, and with end parameter we need to print star. Alright, then let's check out what are the possible values we may get for the pass 1. In the pass 1, the value of I is yellow, and the inner for loop will execute for these two values. So for the first time it will execute once, for the second time it will execute twice. When it will execute once, we are printing yellow because the value of I is yellow, followed by star. When the value of j is 3, this loop will execute twice. So yellow will get printed twice. Don't forget to add this star. In the second pass, the value of I will be white. Again, it will print once or it will get printed twice. In the third pass, the value of I will be black because the third element is black. In the same way, black will get printed once or twice. And at last in the list, we have element red. And we can understand easily. Red is getting printed once or twice. So here are the possible combinations we may get. Yellow will get printed once or twice. In the same way, other colors are also getting printed once or twice. Now look at the options. In the option A, red is getting printed first. So this is not possible. In the first pass, yellow will get printed. Now I am going directly to the option C. Here white is getting printed twice. That is also not possible. Now look at the option B and D. Yellow is getting printed once. Yeah, that is possible. Come to the next value. White is getting printed once. Yes, that is also possible. As a third value, black star we could see. That is also possible. Now look at the last value. Red star once. Yeah, that is also possible. So if we look at the option B, we can get this output. Now there is one more option, that is D. Let's check out. We may get more than one output. The first value is yellow star once. Yes, that is possible. Look at the next value. White star 2 times. Yes, that is also possible. In the third value, black star is 3 times. This is not possible. Only maximum 2 times we are getting values, not for the 3 times. Now we can conclude that our correct option is option B. Hope you understood this explanation. Question number 11 is in the form of fill in the blank. The modem at the sender's end act as a. From the given 4 options, the option B is the correct one. At the sender's end, it acts as a modulator where analog signals are converted to digital. Let's read 12th question. Read the question carefully. There is a given code. Now let's read the question. Which of the following statements should be given in the blank for the missing statement if output produced is 110? Now look at the code. B is initialized to 100. After this, control will come directly to the statement where we are calling the test function and passing value 10 to it. So the value of A will be 10. Come inside the function. For some time, ignore this missing statement and continue to the next statement. Here we are adding A to B. In this expression, we know the value of A is 10. What about b? We can see here b is initialized to 100. But it is a global variable. To access global variable inside the function, we will be using global keyword, global b. So the b can be accessible inside the function. Then we will get the value of b inside the function, that is 100. Now b is 110. That's why when we will print the value of b, we will be getting 110. So the correct option is C. It's time to read 13th question. We need to tell whether the statement is true or false. Let's read the statement carefully. An exception may be raised even if the program is syntactically correct. Yes, this statement is true. Even if the syntax is correct, you may get exception. Just now we studied one example where the syntax was correct. We were writing divide 5 by 0. The syntax is perfectly fine, but still it will result in an exception. Here is the 14th question. Let's read it. Which of the following statement is false about keys in a relational database? Read all the statements carefully. Any candidate key is eligible to become a primary key. This statement is true. This is nothing but the definition of the candidate key. Moving ahead to the next statement. A primary key uniquely identifies a tuple in a relation. This statement is also true. This is the definition of the primary key. Let's read the next statement. A candidate key that is not a primary key is a foreign key. This statement is actually false. The foreign key will be the primary key of the another table. There is one more statement. Let's go through it. A foreign key is an attribute whose value is derived from the primary key of the another table. Yes, this statement is true. This is also nothing but a definition of the foreign key. So out of the fourth option, C is the correct choice because this statement is false and we need to tell the false statement. Moving ahead to the next question, which is in the form of fill in the blank. In case of dash switching, before a communication start, dedicated path is identified between sender and receiver. There are three types of switching techniques: circuit switching, message switching and packet switching. There will be no direct link between sender and the receiver. So the correct option is circuit switching. The example is telephone line. It's time to check out question number 16. Which of the following functions changes the position of file pointer and return its new position? Out of the given options, the correct choice is seek. Seek function changes the position of the file pointer. Now it's time to read question number 17 and 18, which is in the form of assertion and reasoning. Here is question number 17. Read the question carefully. List is an immutable data type. Remember this table. These are all immutable data types and here is the list of the mutable data type. List is a mutable data type, not immutable. Alright, look at the four options. The first option is not applicable. The second option is also not applicable. Even when we will read the option C, that is also not applicable. Ultimately, the option D should be the correct answer, but let's read the reasoning. Then only we will conclude. When an attempt is made to update the value of an immutable variable, the old variable is destroyed and the new variable is created by the same name in memory. That is actually a definition of immutable data type. We cannot change the content in place. To make this concept clear, look at this example. We have considered string, which is a immutable data type. Then we are trying to print the memory location of the string var. So we got this number. Then we try to change the content of the same string. After changing the content, when we try to print the memory address of that str1, we can see here the number is changed. The address is changed. So it is clear from this example that when we will try to update the value of the immutable data type, old variable will get destroyed and the new variable will get created. That's why str1 was pointing to ABC. Now it is not pointing to ABC. It is pointing to the string XYZ. So this statement is absolutely correct. That's why the correct option is D. A is false but R is true. Now let's read question number 18. Python standard library consists of modules. I hope you know the relationship between library, package, module and functions. To make it clear, look at this picture. In real life, you know library consists of many shelves. Shelf contains many books and in the books you will have many chapters. Now relate this to module and packages. Library contains many packages. In packages we have different modules and in the modules we have functions. This is absolutely correct. Library consists of many modules. From this we understood that this statement is true. Now let's read the reasoning. A function in a module is used to simplify the code and avoids repetition. This is the correct definition of the function. So this statement is also true. Both the statements are true, but this reasoning is not the correct explanation for the modules and the library. That's why this option is the correct option, that is option B. Both A and R are true, but R is not the correct explanation for A. In this way we completed section A. It's time to check out section B. Here is the question number 19th. Expand the following term, and there is one more question. Give one difference between XML and HTML. Look at the full form of POP3. It is Post Office Protocol 3 and URL is Uniform Resource Locator. Here is the difference between HTML and XML. HTML has predefined tags. We can design only static web pages using HTML. There is one more difference, that it is not a case sensitive. Then what about XML? The full form is Extensible Markup Language. Don't forget to write the full forms. In XML we can create our own tags. It is generally used for dynamic web page development. And the last difference is XML is case sensitive. Here is the OR part of the same question. We need to define term bandwidth. And in the second question we need to tell how HTTP is different from HTTPS. Look at the answer in the marking scheme. Bandwidth is the maximum rate of data transfer over a transmission medium. Data transfer is nothing but the amount of information that can be transmitted over the network. We know in networking we connect different devices to each other through one transmission medium. So the amount of data is transferring over that medium is known as bandwidth. Let's check out the answer for the second question. HTTPS, the full form is Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure. It's the secure version of the HTTP. In case of HTTP, the data will get encrypted. So it is secure. Whereas this is not possible with the HTTP. It is not that much secure. That's why in the search bar of the browser you will see HTTPS when you are browsing some content over the internet. Let's proceed to the question number 20th. We need to find out the errors and rewrite the code by underlining it. Look at the first line. We are getting error here itself. The keyword is def, not define. The second statement is correct, even third statement also. When we will come to the fourth statement, here we can notice that W is capital. This is the second error. Proceeding to the next statement. Here the operator should be assignment operator like this, not comparison operator. We got third error. Next statement is perfectly fine. Even this also looks good. Now look at the return statement. The indentation level is wrong because return statement is inside the while loop. It should be inside the function, not inside the while loop. So here is the fourth error. You will be writing answer for this question in this way. Underline the error, rewrite the perfect code and even mention all the errors. For rectifying each error you will be getting half marks. So there will be 4 errors in the code. Moving ahead to question number 21. Here we need to write the code. Read the instructions carefully. There is a dictionary. We need to write one function count now, which is taking parameter places. Means it is taking dictionary as a parameter. What the function is gonna do? Display the names in uppercase of the places whose names are longer than 5 characters. So what exactly we need to do? To write this code we will be dealing with the values of the dictionary. Values are string. You can see here. If you want string longer than 5 characters, we will apply len function onto it. If string is having more than 5 characters, then we will convert it to uppercase. That's why we are getting this output, London and New York. Why? Because it is having more than 5 characters. Now look at the code. According to the instruction, here is the dictionary. Even according to the given name, we have created function using def keyword. We are interested only in values. That's why we will iterate over value. Otherwise, by default, dictionary will iterate over keys. Look at the for loop. For place, this is just a variable. In places dot values. Places is the name of the dictionary and we are applying values method on it. With this, we will be getting only values. We got values. Now apply len function on it and check it whether it is greater than 5. If it is greater than 5, using upper method, we are converting it to uppercase. So the code is done. Hope you understood this code. For that second question, we have choice. So let's check out the OR part. In this also we need to write one code. Read it carefully. Here is the function len words taking parameter string. What this function will be doing? Returns a tuple containing length of each word of the string. Here is the given string. Come, let us have some fun. Now look at the output. We are getting length of each word. Come is having 4 length. Let is having length 3. In this way, we are printing the length of each word. It's time to write the function. The name of the function is mentioned, so write exactly as it is. Here the name of the parameter is uppercase string, so change it accordingly. We need to deal with the words of the string. For that we will be using split function. With the split function, all the words of the string will get split. That's why in the variable words we will be getting one list in which we have the separated words of the string. Now we need to calculate the length of the each word. For that we will be iterating over the list. Look at the for loop. For word in words, we are iterating over the list, taking each word and calculating the length of it. Alright, then we will be getting length of each word in the length. For the first word, it will be 4. Wow, we got the length. Now what is our next task? We need to write it in the form of tuple. And that length we will be adding one by one. But you know, tuples are immutable. We cannot change the content of the tuple once it is created. Now how to do this task? If it would be list, the task will be easy. Just we need to use the append function. But in case of tuple, we have to do some other arrangement. For that, what we will be doing? We will be creating one new tuple with the additional elements and that we will concatenate using plus operator. So here is the empty tuple, tuple 1, in which we need to add all the lengths. For that we have created one single element tuple. Look at the syntax. We create single element tuple by writing first element and specifying the comma. Same thing we are doing here. We are creating single element tuple and concatenating it to the tuple 1. In this way, one by one, the length will get added to the tuple. Write return statement as we are writing a function. No need to call it because according to the instructions, we will be writing only function. I have written this statement because I need to call that function and check the output whether it is working fine or not. Hope you understood this code. Give it a try. What's the question number 22nd? There is one string with the value lost. There is a list also with 4 elements and empty dictionary. Look at the for loop. For loop will execute for the value of I. The value of I will be in range length of s. The length of s means total number of characters in a string, that are 4. So the value of I will be from 0 to 3. Inside the loop there is one if else. If I modulus 2 equals to 0 means if I is even, we will be having this expression, and when I is odd we will have another expression. So let's evaluate it. In the past one, the value of I will be 0. It is a even number. Look at the expression. With L dot pop, we are going to remove the last element of the list. In the past one, the last element will get popped as 4. So D of 4. On the right hand side, we have S of I. The value of I is 0 in the past one. That means S of 0. S of 0 means the character which is at the index 0 means L. Ultimately, we got this expression D of 4 equals to L. We are adding all this data in the dictionary. So, first key value pair is 4 and L. In the same way, we need to proceed for the rest of the pass. In the second pass, the value of I will be 1 and it is an odd number. So, the control will come to the else part. There is one more pop function applied to the list. We know already 4 got pop. Now is chance of 33. So, D of 33. And on the right hand side, we have I plus 3. The value of I is 1. 1 plus 3 means 4. So, ultimately we got this statement. D of 33 equals to 4. So, the key is 33 and the value is 4. Now, the remaining two parts you will understand easily. Next time the value of I will be 2 and it is a even number. So, it will come to the true part. Now, 21 will got popped. That's why we got D of 21. The value of I is 2. So, S of 2 means we will be getting the character S from the string. That's why we got this expression. D of 21 equals to S. So, 21 is the key and S is the value. In the last pass, the value of I will be 3. It is a odd number. It will come to the else part. With the pop function, now 10 will get removed. So, we got D of 10. I plus 3 will get evaluated to 6 because the value of I is 3. 3 plus 3 will be 6. So, the last key value pair is 10 and 6. In this way, the first for loop got executed. Look at the next for loop. For key value in D dot items, we are iterating over key value. We are printing it and the key value pair is getting separated with star. This is the first key value pair 4 and L. In between we are applying star. This is the second key value pair. This is the third key value pair and finally this is the fourth key value pair. So here is the output. Hope you understood this explanation. Here is 23rd question. Let's check out that question. To insert an element 200 at the third position in the list 1. To insert an element at the specified index, we have insert method. L1.insert. First we need to mention the index, then the value. It is mentioned at third position but we know it starts with 0. So for the third position we will be writing 2 and here is the value. Let's check out the next question to check whether the string name message ends with a full stop. For that we have ends with function related to string. The name of the string is message that we have mentioned ends with function and we need to check whether it is getting ended with the full stop or not. That we have mentioned here. This is the end character. For that question we have OR option. There is a list. The name of the list is student age which stores the age of the students. We need to write the Python command to import the required module. First we need to import the module and then we have to find out the common age from the given list. To find out the mean, median and mode we have statistics module that we have imported. Common age we need to find out. So to find the common value we have mode function. For that we have mentioned the module name and the function from that particular module. The name of the list is student age and we are printing it. This module we have studied in class 11. In class 11 we studied 3 modules. The first is math module, the second is statistic module and the third one is random module. This was quite easy but we should know all the methods, modules and the functions. Now let's check out question number 24th. Miss Shalini created the table. The name of the table is employee. It has columns e-name, department and salary. After creating the table, she realized that she has forgotten to add a primary key column to the table. So we need to help her to write the MySQL command to add a primary key. The name of the column is employee ID. It is of integer type. So this is the first question where you need to add a column which will act as a primary key. Let's proceed to the question. We need to write a command to insert the following record to the table. So this is the second question. Let's write the query for the first question. As already table is created, now we need to alter it with the alter table command. And we are adding one column. For that we will be using add clause. The query will look like this. Alter table employee, add employee ID. The data type is integer. And this column will act as a primary key. So the constraint we will be mentioning here. Now let's write query which will insert data to this table. Insert into employee, don't forget to write values keyword. Here we are providing data to the fields according to the structure. The first field is ename, second is department and third is salary. EMPA ID will come at last as we have added it later. So accordingly we are providing the details. You know there is a variation for insert command. You can write this command in this way also. Insert into employee. Here we are mentioning the list of the fields. And with values keyword we are providing the values. By mentioning the name of the column list and the values, we can change the sequence. Employee ID is mentioned first, so the data we can provide accordingly, followed by ename, department and salary. There is a or part for this question. Let's read it. Jack is working in a database named Sport. So this is the name of the database in which he has created a table named Sports. Sports table contain these columns. First is sport ID, then sport name, number of players, fourth is category. After creating the table, he realized that the attribute category has to be deleted from the table and a new attribute type sport of data type string has to be added. And while adding this new attribute to the table, it cannot be left blank. Alright, we need to help Jack to write this command. The first task is to delete an attribute. For that we will be using alter table command. Alter table sports drop category. With this, one column category is getting deleted. Now moving ahead to the second task, we need to add attribute. The name of the attribute is type sport. Whenever we need to modify the structure of the table, we will be using alter table command. So here is the query. Alter table sports. We are using here add clause to add a column to the table. The name of the column is type sport. The data type is char10 and it should not be blank. That's why we are adding here constant not null. With not null, we cannot leave this column blank. In question number 25th, we need to predict the output of the following code. So here is the code. Try to understand it carefully and write the values for each call of the function. Control will directly come to this statement. A is initialized to 200, B is initialized to 20. We are calling this function name changer by passing the value. A will get passed to P and B will get passed to Q. So what's the value of P? It is 200. And what is the value of Q? It is 20. 10 will get overwritten by 20 as we are passing value. Now calculate this expression. P is equals to P by Q. P is 200, Q is 20. We got 10.0. Division operator gives result in the form of float. Look at the second expression. P is equals to P modulus Q. What's the new value of P? It is 10.0. 10.0 modulus 20. The remainder will be 10.0. With the return statement, we are returning back the value of P. So we need not bother about Q much. So the value of P is getting returned. Let me erase this. We return the value of P that got stored in the variable A. Now look at the next print statement. We are printing A. So 10.0 will get printed. After that we are printing the value of B. Look at the value of B here. It is 20. So 20 is getting printed. That's all right. And the separator is dollar. So dollar is getting printed in between them. We need to print the output of this code. So the output of the first print statement will be like this. Let's proceed to the next statement. We are calling changer function once again by passing only one parameter So that parameter will get initialized to b. As we are not passing both the parameters, default value will be considered. Now let's evaluate these expression with the new values. P is 20 and Q is 10. So when P will get evaluated, 20 by 10 will be 2.0. No need to bother about Q. That we are returning with the return statement. So come back to the main program. 2.0 will get initialized as the value of B. Again using print statement, we are printing the value of A and B. So what is the new value of A and B? A is initialized to 10, we know. So that got printed. After that we are printing B. What is the new value of B? It is 2.0. So that is also present here. That we could see here. Now the separator is dollar symbol. It is getting printed. There is a end parameter too. With end parameter we need to print these 3 hash symbols at the end. Accordingly, here is the output of the second print statement. This was first one. This is the second one. Finally, we got this output. Alright, we are done with section B. It's time to proceed to section C. So here is the question number 26th. Try to understand the code properly and design the dry run table. Let's work on it. There is a one string text1 and the string 2 is empty string. Here we are using while loop. This is the first part of the while loop, initialization, then test condition, and this is increment. Inside the while loop we have if elif. The value of I will be from 0 till length of text1, and the length of text1 means the number of characters in a text1. It is 6. So the value of I will be from 0 to 5. So let's start our dry run. In the pass 1 the value of I will be 0. If the first character of the text1 is greater than 0 or less than 9, means it should be digit. We are checking it for the digit. If it is a digit, it will come inside the true part. The first character is I, so it will not come to the true part. Let's check out what is the second condition. In the second condition, we are checking if it is in between capital A to Z. The first character of the string is I. It satisfies this condition, so it will come to the elif part. With the condition, whatever character we get, we will concatenate it with the string 2, which is an empty string in the beginning. So let's check out the expression for the first character I. Text of I plus 1. The value of I is 0. So what will be the value of I plus 1? It will be 1. Let's write the index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So at the index 1 we have character n, which will get concatenated to the text 2. Moving ahead, in the next pass we will get the next character of the string, that is n. It satisfies the second criteria, that is it is in between A to Z. If it is in between A to Z, we are concatenating the next character, that is D. So D will get concatenated to the n. In the third pass we are getting the character D. It also satisfies this elif part. It is in between A and Z. For that we need to consider the next character, that is dash. It got concatenated to the previous string, that is ND. After D, in the next pass we are getting dash. It is not a digit, not a character also in between A to Z. So the control will come to the else part. In the else part we are concatenating star. So star got concatenated. In the fifth pass we got 2. 2 is a digit, so the control will come to the if part. There are 2-3 statements, we will evaluate it here. First of all, we are converting the text of that I to integer. We got 2. It will get converted to the integer 2. The value of val was 2. It is getting incremented by 1, means we got 3. Look at the third statement now. The value which we got in the variable is getting converted to string. We got 3, that will get converted to string and will get concatenated to the previous string. 3 got concatenated to the previous string. In the last pass we are getting 3. It is again a digit. So 3 we got as a string, which we converted to a number by integer, and we are incrementing it by 1. So the value we got 4. Again 4 got converted to string and got added to the previous string. So ultimately we will get this string. That's why Our final output is this, ND dash star 3 4. Hope you understood this explanation. Moving ahead, let's check out question number 27, which is based on MySQL. Consider a table. The table name is club and we need to write the output of the SQL queries. Look at the table carefully and then read the queries. Here is the first query. Select count distinct sports from club. Here count function is applied on a column. So we will be counting sports. With distinct keyword we know we have to remove duplicates. Then look at the column sports. Here is the first sport name chess, the second is cricket, third is volleyball and fourth is karate. In the next row there is chess, it is repeated. Even karate got repeated. Finally we have cricket, that is also repeated. So distinct sports we are getting as 4. Look at the output, we got correct answer. After select statement, whatever we write, it will come as a column header. It's time to read second query. Select CNAME, sports. Look at the where clause. This is the first condition. Date of application should be less than the mentioned date. With AND operator, we have second condition too. CNAME like %NA. Both the conditions should be true. Look at the second condition. Here is the CNAME column. %NA means in the name starting can be anything but last 2 characters should be NA. We have 2 records which are matching this criteria. Now look at the first condition. Date of application should be less than the mentioned date. For Amina, the date of application is 2007, means it is greater than the mentioned one. Now look at the Amina, the date of application is 2003. So ultimately only one record is satisfying both the criteria. For that record we will be printing CNAME, that is Amina, and the sports is chess. Look at the output. We got the perfect output. Let's erase everything and move ahead to the third query. Select CNAME, age and pay. The first column will be CNAME, the second will be age and third will be pay. It's time to check out the conditions. The first condition is gender should be male. Here also we are using the logical operator AND. After that we have second condition. Pay should be between 1000 and 1200. Look at the gender column. With male we have total 3 records. Now let's check out for the second condition. For this record pay is 1300. It doesn't satisfy the criteria because it is more than the specified range. Look at the next record. Pay is 1000. Yes, this record satisfies both the condition. Moving ahead to the next record. The pay is 1050. This record also satisfies both the condition. So in the output we need to print the CNAME for these 2 records, then age and pay. So for these 2 records we will be printing name. So the name is Amrit, age is 28 and pay is 1000. Similarly for the second record, name is Virat, age is 35 and pay is 1050. Look at the output. Congratulations, you are absolutely right. There is one question based on text file with the choice. Let's solve this question first. There is a text file, the name of the text file is poem.txt. We need to write one user defined function vowel count. What this function will be doing? It will count the number of vowels in the text file and that we have to print. Look at the code. According to the instruction, function is ready. The first step is to open the file. The name of the file is poem.txt that we are opening in the read mode. Now we have to read the content of the file. For that we are using read function. If we don't mention number of bytes here, whole file will get read. Read and readline functions return data in the form of string. Using for loop, we are iterating over that string. Now we have to count the vowels. For that, we need to write the condition. If X in A, E, I, O, U. Here we mention lowercase as well as uppercase vowels. Using this variable count, we are counting the number of vowels. If we get vowel, it will get incremented by 1. Finally, we are printing the number of vowels. In case of file handling, always the last step will be closing the connection using close function. To cross-check the output of this code, we have taken some random data in the poem.txt file. Look at the output. The number of vowels are 19. This question is important. It has been asked in many question papers. Now look at the question in the choice. Here is a text file alpha.txt. We need to write a function which will display those lines which begins with the word you. Here we need to display the lines, not to count. Alright, try to understand this code. As function name is not mentioned, we can write anything. Let's open the given file in the R mode. This is our first step. Here we use readlines functions with the help of which we are reading all the lines. You will be getting this type of output. You know readlines functions gives the result in the form of list. The next task will be iterating over the elements of the list. Here is the first element of the list. We will be iterating over it one by one. According to the question, we need to print those lines which are starting with the word you. Now we need to split it to check the first word is you or not. For that we are using split function. After applying split function, the output will look like this. The words got separated and we are interested only the word you. That we will be checking with the if condition. If list of 0 is equals to you. And the word you is at the index 0 of the list. If the condition satisfies, we need to print that whole line which we are getting in the variable line. Don't forget to close the file. We have taken some random data and here is the output. We are getting only those lines which is getting started with the word you. It's time to read question number 29, which is based on MySQL. Here is the table. The name of the table is personal. Let's proceed and check the question. Here we need to write the queries according to the instructions. Read the question carefully. If you know how to write the queries, pause the video and try it yourself. Then you can come back and cross-check your answer. Hope you could write these queries. Now let's try to solve these queries. Increase the salary by 5% of personnel whose allowance is known. Look at the allowance column. There are some null values that we will not consider. To update values in already existed table, we will be using update command. So here is the query. Update table name. Set. We need to update the salary. So salary will be salary equals to 0.5. 5% means 5 divided by 100. It should be equals to 0.05. Not 0.5. So correct it. What's the condition? Whose allowance is known. With where clause we will write the condition. Where allowance is not null. While revising MySQL, we studied how to handle null with is and is not operator. Here we don't want to consider null, that's why we are writing is not. Let's erase everything and move ahead to the second question. Display name and total salary. The total salary will be sum of salary and allowance that we are displaying for all the personnel. The column heading will be total salary. To display, we simply use select command. First we will be displaying name and the second is total salary. First we need to calculate this total salary as there is no such field in the table. It will get calculated here itself. We need to write salary plus allowance. While displaying, we need to give name to this column. That we will be doing with as. The name is total salary. Finally, we will be writing the table name from personal. So here is the query. Now let's check out the third description. Delete record of supervisor whose salary is greater than 25,000. From designation we will come to know that person is supervisor. It means there are two conditions. So let's write the delete query. Delete from table name. The table name is personal. Now let's check out the condition where designation should be supervisor. So we will be providing it here. Supervisors. There is one more condition that we can mention with AND operator, and salary should be greater than 25,000. So the query will look like this. If we run this query, one record will get deleted because this supervisor is not satisfying the criteria of the salary. It is null. Hope you understood this explanation. Here is question number 38. Read question with patience. Here is the list. Name of the list is NList with the following records. There are many records which are nested together in a nested list. We need to write user-defined functions which will perform specified task on the stack. The name of the stack is travel. The first operation is push element. Push element function taking NList as a parameter. This function will push a list containing the name of the city and country. But there is a restrictions which are not in India and the distance is less than 3500 km from Delhi. To understand, look at this example. Here is the nested list with some records. Now look at the output of the push element function. There are two conditions to write record to the travel stack. The first is city should not be in India and the distance should be greater than 3500. Look at the first record. It doesn't satisfy the second criteria because distance is more. Moving ahead to the second record, it satisfies the criteria. That's why it is going to write in the travel. Third record satisfies the criteria, so it is in the travel stack. Here the distance is more than 3500. Gangtok is in India, so it doesn't satisfy the first condition. Look at the last record. Colombo satisfies both the condition. That's why it is written to the stack. Now let's try to understand the code. We need to write data to the travel stack, and stack we implement using list we know. For that we have initialized one empty list. Now it's time to write the function according to the instruction. The name of the function is push element which will take the parameter NList. NList is a nested list with some records. Using for loop we are iterating over the list. In variable L, one by one we will get the list. In the list at the 0th index we have city. At the first index there is a country. And at the index 2 we have the distance from the Delhi. Now let's write the first condition. Country should not be India, that we are getting at the index 1. So here is the if statement. If L of 1 is not equal to India. Now it's time to write the second condition. The distance from Delhi should be less than 3500, which is at index 2. So in this way we can write L of 2 less than 3500. Both the condition should be true. That's why we are using logical operator AND. Now look at the output once again. The way we need to write the record to the stack. It is in the form of list. That too, the first element is city and the second element is country. So let's take these two elements in the form of list. For that we have initialized one new list. The first element is city which is at the index 2 and the second element we need country which is at index 1. And after writing those two elements in the form of list we need to append it to the stack. The name of the stack is travel. If we will print that stack we will be getting this output. This is the first record will get added, second and third one. Hope you understood how to push the elements. It's time to check out the second user defined function. The name of the function is pop element. Let's read the instructions carefully. It pops the object from the stack. The function should display stack is empty when there are no elements in the stack. This is the last element got added to the stack, that's why it is getting popped first, then the second element and finally the last element. When there are no records in the stack, we will get output stack is empty. Now we are implementing pop operation of the stack. We are implementing stack using list. So to delete the last element from the list, we will be using pop function. By default, it removes the item or deletes the item from the last position. Now let's try to understand the code. It's very simple. According to the instruction, function got ready. We will be iterating over the list using while loop. While length of travel. By calculating the length, we will come to know there are elements in the list. If there are elements, we are using pop function and printing it. Pop function returns the popped element. So we will be getting the last element of the travel list. This loop will continue till we have elements in the travel list. But when the length is equals to 0, the else part of the while loop will get executed. And we will get this message, stack is empty. And after execution of the program, we are getting the required output. If you get confused with this statement, you can write explicitly while length of travel is not equals to 0. Both are same statements. Hope you understood this code too. Give it a try. In this way, we solve the questions from the section C. Proceeding to section D. This is question number 31, which is based on MySQL. In this question, there are two tables, so it will surely cover the concept of joins. We need to write the queries based on the instructions. Read the first question. Display product name and brand name from the tables product and brand. In the first query, we want to consider both the tables. Product name is present in the product table. What about brand name? Brand name is in brand table. If we need to retrieve data from more than one table, there should be a common column. The common column is BID. Now we will match this common column and extract the data. Now it will be very easy to write the query. Select the first column we need to display is product name. So the name of the field is P name. The second column we need to print is brand. The name of the field in the table is B name, followed by the name of the tables. The first name of the table is product. The second name of the table is brand. If you want to rename the table, you can give it here. I am giving P for product and B for brand. It's time to write the where clause. With where clause, we are matching the common column. The condition is P.BID should be equals to B.BID. So here is the query. Even you can write this query with inner join too, because we need matching records, and you know we get matching record with inner join or with equi-join. What is the next question? Display the structure of the table product. This query is very easy. We will be writing DESC and then name of the table, that is product. Let's try to read the third instruction. Display average rating of Medimix and Dove brand. The name of the brand we will be getting in the brand table. For that, we need to print the average rating. Rating we are getting in the product table. It means we need to deal with both the tables. When we match the common column, it is clear that there are two ratings for the Medimix brand. Then what about Dove brand? For it also there are two ratings. Means here we need to do grouping based on the brand name. Alright, let's try to figure out the query. As we are doing grouping on the brand name, we will be printing it so that we will get an idea. The second thing is average of rating. Here we are dealing with both the tables that we have mentioned along with the nickname for it. With where clause we are writing this condition where we are matching the records. It's time to write the grouping statement. We are doing grouping based on brand name. But for grouping we have condition that we write with having clause. The brand name should be Medimix or it can be Dove. If we write this query, we will be getting the required output. First, brand name will get displayed followed by average of rating for that brand. For Medimix there are two ratings and for Dove also there are two ratings. Moving ahead to the last instruction. Display name. For name we have the field name P name. The second column that will get displayed is price. For price we have U price field in the table. The third field is rating of the product. The name of the field is rating. In descending order of rating. All these fields are present in the product table. So here we are dealing with only one table. Then let's write the from clause from product. we need to display the records in the descending order of rating. For ordering, we use order by clause. Based on rating, we are arranging the records, that too in the descending order. So don't forget to write this keyword DESC. So that was the explanation of this question. Hope you understood it. Let's read question number 32. Vedansh is a Python programmer. For annual sports meet, he created a CSV file. The name of the CSV file is result.csv. And the structure of the CSV file is as follows. There is one list. The first is student ID, second is student name. The third element of the list is game name. It is the name of the game in which student is participating. It is in the form of string. Let's scroll it down. The fourth element is result. The value for the result can be won, lost or tie. Let's read the remaining question. Vedansh needs to write some user-defined function. The first user-defined function is accept. What this function is gonna do? It will accept a record from the user and add it to the file. Along with records, we need to add the column heading too. There is one more function Vedansh need to write, that is one count. It counts the number of the students who have won any event. So as a Python expert, we need to help him. Are we Python expert? Why not? We can be. According to the instruction, here is the name of the function. Hope you remember the steps to write data to the CSV file. As we are writing user-defined function, you can skip this step to import CSV file. We are writing data to the file, so second step is to open the file in the write mode. If you want to append, you can open it in the append mode too. The third step is to create writer object, and in the fourth step we will be using write row or write rows function and giving it to the writer object. Finally, we will close the file. Depending on the requirement, you can use write row function or write rows. If you want to write data row by row, we can use write row function. Or if you have the data in the form of nested list, then we can go ahead with write rows function. With the help of input function, we are taking input. The first is student ID, second is student name, third is name of the game, and the fourth one is result. With all this data, we have created one list because write row function takes data in the form of list. With all this input, we have created one list named data because write row function takes data in the form of list. Now it's time to use open function. The name of the CSV file is result.csv. That file is gonna open in the append mode because we will be continuously adding data to it, so we need to open it in the append mode. Don't forget this parameter in case of CSV file. Otherwise, after every row, blank line will get added to the CSV file. The next important task is to create writer object. Now using write row function, we are providing that list to the writer object. Along with the record, we need to write the heading too. For that, we have created one more list. The name of the list is headings. According to the fields, we need to mention the headings. There are 4 fields. That's why there are 4 headers. As we use write row function to write data, in the same way you will be using write row function to write headings and giving it to the writer object. So that was the code. Here is the second function that Vedansh will be writing. Consider some random data in the CSV file. Here is the process to read CSV file. The first step is to open the CSV file. In the second step, we will be creating reader object. With the reader object, we got the data that we will be processing. Finally, close the file. Alright, let's try to understand the code. Here is the function according to the instruction. With the open function, we open the file in the read mode. Important step is to create reader object with the file pointer. Now we need to process the fetch data. With the reader object, we got the data in this format. Now we will be iterating over the list one by one. According to the question, we need to count the number of students who have won in any event. So we are interested into this list element where we are mentioning the result. Look at this random data. There are 3 students who have won in the event. To iterate over the list, we are using for loop. For x in data. We are interested in this field which is at the index 3. So x of 3 is equals to 1. We are comparing it with 1. If it is true, we will be incrementing the variable count which was initialized to 0. So every time if we get 1, the count will get increased. In this way, we will be getting the count of the student who have 1 that we are printing. Ultimately, we will get this output. The number of students who have 1 equals to 3. Hope you understood this code. Wow, we are done with the section D. Now it's time to check the last section, that is section E. Here is the first question from the section E, which is based on networking. Read the question carefully. There is an educational organization name is Meticulous. It has head office in Delhi and there are 4 other campuses in Chennai. In the following table we have the distance between block to block, and there is one more table in which we have total number of computers in each block. Now let's read the instructions carefully. Suggest and draw the cable layout efficiently to connect various blocks of the Chennai campus. There are different topologies. Out of that you can suggest any one. If we go ahead with bus topology, it is depending on the distance between the blocks. Try to find out the minimum distance between these blocks and connect it. The second choice, we can go ahead with the star topology. I would suggest always to go with star topology. It is based on the number of computers in each block. Whichever block has maximum number of computers, we will make it as a server, and other blocks we will connect to it. Look at the table here. Admin block is having 110 computers, so it will act as a server and other blocks will get connected to it. So without thinking much, always go with star topology. What's the next question? Which network device will be used to connect computers in each block to form LAN? For LAN we can use switch or hub, but switch is a smart hub, so we will be using switch. If similar kind of question will get repeated in your final exam, write answer as switch. Moving ahead to the next question. In which block in Chennai campus should be made server? Justify your answer. Look at the Chennai campus. Admin has 110 computers, so it will act as a server. That's why the answer is admin block, and to justify answer we have written that it has a maximum number of computers. Let's check the next question. Which is fast and efficient wireless transmission medium should be used to connect head office at Delhi with Chennai? For the given distance, microwave will be the efficient option. Moving ahead to the last question. Suggest a device, software to be installed in the Chennai campus to take care of data security. For computer, firewall is the best option. Now let's discuss question number 34, which is based on binary file. There is a sport.dat file. It contains records of the following structure: sports name, team name and number of players. We need to write one function, copy data, which will read the content from the file. After reading the content from the sports file, we need to copy the records to the basket.dat file, and only those records will get copied with the sports name basketball. After copying data from sports to basket file, the function should also return the number of records that are copied to the basket file. Let's try to understand the code. According to the instruction, function got created. For this program, we are dealing with two binary files. The sport file is getting open in the read mode and the basket file will get open in the WB mode. As you can see, FP1 is the file handle for the sports file and FP2 is the file handle for the basket file. When we load the data, we use try except block to handle exception. Using infinite for loop, we are loading the data from the sports file. Using load function, we are loading the data from the sports file. File data we got in the form of list. We are interested in the sports name, which is at the index 0. So here is the condition. If data of 0 is equals to basketball. If the sports name is basketball, we need to copy those records to the basket file. For that we are writing dump function with FP2 file handle. As we need to count the total number of copied record. For that we have used one variable count, which will get incremented. When the loading of the data gets over, exception will raise, and with the except block we are closing the file. In the function it is mentioned that the function should return the number of records. For that we are using return function and returning the count of the copied record. Based on some sample data, if we look at the output, number of records are 2. Because there are 2 records with basketball sports name. Hope you understood this code. For the same question, we have OR part 2. Let's read the question. There is a binary file. The name of the binary file is cinema. The file content has this structure. It is in the form of dictionary. Look at the key. It is a movie number. And for values, we have list. The first element of the list is movie name and the second element of the list is movie type. Let's read the question. We need to write one user defined function. The name of the function is findType. It takes the parameter mType. The function should display all the records from the binary file that have the value of movie type as mType, which is taking as a parameter. Look at some sample data of cinema file. The key is movie number and the value for that key is a list. The first element is movie name and the second element is movie type. Let's work out on the code. According to the instruction, function is ready with the parameter mType. As we have to read the content, we have opened the file in the RB mode. You know the importance of try and except block. It is used to handle the exception when we will load the data of the binary file infinitely. That we do with while loop. With the load function, we are loading the content of the file. We got the file content in the variable data which is in the form of dictionary. We need to display data based on mType. So we are interested into only values. That's why we are iterating over values of the dictionary using values function. Now using if, let's compare the mType, that is pass parameter, and the values which we got from the dictionary. If this mType present in values, we will be printing the whole dictionary. This loop will continue till we have data in the binary file. It will check and print it. If we reach at the end of the file, exception will raise. That time the control will come to the except block and we will close the file. Let's assume for that program we pass movie type as romantic. That's why here is the output. Along with the questions where you need to write the code, we have one theory question also which is for 2 marks. Differentiate between R plus and W plus mode. Look at the sum of the differences. In case of R plus mode, the primary function is reading. The file will open in the read mode but it provides write operation too. Whereas in case of W plus mode, the primary function is writing. Look at some of other differences. If we open the file in the R plus mode, file must exist. Otherwise you will get error. Whereas in case of W plus mode, if file doesn't exist, it will get created. If already existed file gets open in the W plus mode, previous data will get overwritten. But this is not the case with the R plus mode. For OR part 2, there is one theory question. How are text file different from the binary files? Look at the answer from the marking scheme. The extension of the text file is .txt. Data got stored in the ASCII format which is in the human readable form. There is one more difference. In case of text file, we have end of line character. Now what about binary files? The extension of the binary file is .dat. Data got stored in the binary form. That's why it is not in the human readable format. Now we are at the last question of the question paper, that is question number 35. Look at this question. This is 5-mark question which is divided into 1 plus 4. Let's read the question. Define the term domain with respect to RDBMS and give one example to support your answer. Let's read the answer from the marking scheme. Domain is nothing but a set of values which are permitted value for the particular record in a table. Let's consider an example. If you have a table name student and there is a field name roll number, then you can only enter integer values in that field. So what's the domain for this field? It is a set of integer values. Now let's solve the second part of the 35th question. This question is a case study based question. Read the question carefully. Kabir wants to write a Python program to insert following record in the table student in MySQL database school. Here are the fields of the table and this information is provided for the connectivity. Continue reading the question. The values of RNO, name, date of birth and fees has to be accepted from the user. Help Kabir to write program in Python. Hope you remember the steps to create a connectivity. The first step is to import the required module. For that we are writing import command, import mysql.connector. With as keyword we will be giving nickname to it. Look at the second step, open a connection to database. For that we use connect function. Connect function belongs to the module, that's why we are writing mysql.connect. According to the provided information we need to write this parameter. First parameter is host. Host equals to localhost. The second parameter will be user, that is root. Here is the third parameter, password equals to tiger. It is mentioned in the question. The final parameter is database. Look at the question, the name of the database is school. So we need to provide it here. If it is not mentioned, then you can write anything. Moving ahead with the third step, creating a cursor instance. For that we will be using cursor function along with the connection object. Here it is con1. As instructed, we have to take the input for roll number, name, date of birth and fees. Roll number is integer, fees is float and name and date of birth will be in the string format. As we need to provide these input to the query, we will be designing parameterized query. For that we are using format function. Look at the insert query that we are initializing to a variable query. Insert into student values. We need to provide 4 values, that's why we are providing 4 placeholders. In the first placeholder, RNO will get replaced. In the second placeholder, name. Third placeholder is for date of birth and fourth placeholder is for fees. Look at the placeholder. The second placeholder is enclosed in a single quote. Even third placeholder is enclosed in a single quote because these two variables are of string data type. Make sure to enclose the string in triple quotes. What's the next step? We need to execute a query. For that we will be using execute function and providing the query variable as a parameter. Execute function works with cursor instance. We are familiar with this concept that whenever we use any DML command, we need to use commit function so that we can permanently save the changes into the table. So here is the commit function which works with the connection object, that is con1. Printing one simple message to confirm the program is working fine. Now we are at the last step, clean up the environment. For that we are using close function which works with connection object. In this way our task is over. We helped Kabir to insert one record to the table through Python program. In the OR part of the same question, there is one question for 1 mark. Difference between alternate key and candidate key. Candidate keys are the columns which has the characteristics to become a primary key. But all the candidate keys cannot be a primary key. Only one of them will be a primary key. Now let's read the definition. You will understand. The candidate keys that do not become primary keys are alternate keys. Let's understand this concept with one example. There is Lok Sabha election for the post of Prime Minister. There are many candidates for this position. But you know, one of them will be the Prime Minister, not all. So Prime Minister is nothing but a primary key. All these candidates are nothing but candidate key. The candidates which couldn't be Prime Minister are called as alternate key. In this way we solve the first part. Let's check out the second part now, which is based on the connectivity of MySQL and Python. Let's read that question. Sartaj has created table student in MySQL database school. Here are the fields of the table and here is the information for the connectivity. Now let's read the question. Sartaj now wants to display the records of the student whose fees is more than 5,000. As we helped Kabir, we should help to Sartaj also to write this Python program. Look at the code. Now we know the steps, right? The first step is to import mysql.connector module. In the second step, we use connect function to establish connection between MySQL and Python. According to the instruction, here is the first parameter, second parameter and third parameter. Database is given, so we will be writing it. Here also the database name is same. Moving ahead to the third step, that is to create cursor instance. Now we need to write the query and execute it. Here is the query. Select star from student where fees equals to, this is the placeholder, According to the instructions, we need to display the records of the student whose fees is greater than 5000. So with format function, we are providing it. This is an integer value, so no need to enclose the placeholder in a single quote. Always try to write the query in a triple single quote to avoid any confusion between the quotes. Now it's time to execute the query with the execute function. Here we are using select query, so we will be getting some result set that we are fetching with fetch all function. We got the records in the form of list of tuples that is stored in the data variable. Using for loop, we are iterating over the tuples of the list and printing that record one by one. The last step is to close the connection. So in this way we will be scoring 4 marks based on this topic. In this way we completely solve sample question paper. Hope this will be helpful for your final exam. If you have time and to get more practice, you will be solving one more question paper. This is a pre-board question paper of Bangalore Sahodayas. I will be providing link for this PDF. So give it a try and solve all the questions from this question paper. For your convenience, I will be providing marking scheme for the same question paper so that you can cross check your answers. So that's the wrap for today's video. With this you are getting acquainted with 2 sample question papers. If you find this video helpful, do share with your friends. In the next video we will be solving additional question paper which is issued by CBSE. And along with that, one more set I will be providing to you for more practice. So until next time, stay confident, stay healthy. I will see you in the next video.